Okay, this will be part 2 of the engine roulette video. This is Jackson's Hot Shot, 1950 Hot Shot, which was the youth project. Some things I never really showed anybody or talked too much about on this car, and I'll kind of go over them with you. I am reasonably sure this car was raced at some point in time. When we got it, right there on the left side of the instrument cluster was a big hole about the same size. I really think that was for a tachometer. We plugged it up. It has a remote shifter, came that way. The spare tire, which I can't show you, but the spare tire bracket and everything had been shaved off the back. But the big thing was somebody had converted the rear leaf springs, or the rear coil spring suspension, to a leaf spring suspension. The spring cups and everything were still there. In the VCs, the main leaf spring on a normal car is actually the radius arms for the coil spring rear end on a VC. So they actually had a complete stack of leaves back there. I'm assuming the idea was to stiffen it up for racing or something. It's also got on the back wheels, it has a set of the Breguet wheel spacers. You don't see those very often. Most people don't even know they exist. But they give the car a little wider track. And you also notice that is not a Crosley windshield. It's a much lower windshield. I, of course, have added the snaps and everything because I made a top for it. And the original seats were gone, and there was more of a bucket type seat there, which I've redesigned and made them a little more comfortable. But the big thing is the engine. The reason I think it was raced, I think at one time this thing had probably a performance engine in it. And whenever they quit, they either took the engine out, put it in a different car, sold or whatever. Here's the thing about this engine. If you look, you'll notice it does not have an oil filler tube or breather on the driver's side like every other Crosley. This tells me this is a very early crankcase. My guess is it was probably converted from 10 block over to cast block. I've never really looked at the number on the crank to prove that one way or the other. But this is a very weak engine, and not only in power, but in structure and strength. So that's why we're replacing it. I've started taking all the parts off of it and getting ready to snatch it out of there. And we'll be putting the engine in the previous video in this, which should make it a lot better driver for him. Also, I know this car, because we have the part, this car happens to have a 6-inch clutch, which by the time the VC came out, they already went to 6.5 inch. We'll be putting a 6.5 inch back in, of course. But that's the deal on the little VC. Did have a little customization. The grill on that, I kept trying to figure out what that grill was, and finally I was at a car show one day, and an old timer came up to me and he said, "Well, that's great use for a 37 Ford headlight rim." And it turns out that's what it is. So that's what we'll be doing on the Hot Shot. And when we get it all back in, I might do a little video as we put it in, but when we get it all back in, get it up and running, we'll do another video. All right, people. Thanks a lot.